and you want to talk and you want to meet one another, and that's what it's all about. And so if you all will come in and be seated, and then we'll get ready to get started, okay? So we're glad that you're here. This is a very, very important night for Pinellas County. It really is. And for all of our children and all of our young people, and we're so glad that you're here to be a part of this. So Alicia George is going to come, and she's going to, oh, here she is now. You snuck up on me there, darling. She's going to share some announcements, and then she's going to introduce our speaker tonight. Alicia?
Thank you, and good evening. It's kind of weird doing announcements at night. It's not used to it. So our normal announcements, we've got our thrift store open every Wednesday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All of the proceeds of the sales for the thrift store, they go towards our food pantry. And we get hundreds of people coming through the food pantry every week. So it's really an amazing ministry there. Except for tonight, but every other Wednesday is youth group starting at 6:30. It is 4th grade through high school. We are just getting it started, so we've got some games for the kids. We try to bring some treats and snacks for the kids too, and then Jesse provides a message starting at right about 7:30. So we'd love to see as many kids there as possible so we can get it growing. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is our quarterly planning meeting. So anybody is welcome to come, and especially if you are looking to volunteer, we will be having sign-up sheets for VBS that is coming in July. March 29th is the Friday Night Live official first service with Bill Lasasso. It is their opening service. So we'd love to see as many people there to support this new service that we have going on Friday night. March 31st is Easter, so we have our Easter sunrise service starting at 8 a.m. being presented by our youth director, Jesse George. And then regular service at 10:15, and then immediately following after that, we will be having an all-ages egg hunt. We will separate it with the young kids, and then the older kids will go after that. So we want everyone to be able to participate and get involved with that. Any donations that anyone is able to provide towards funding the shed that has been built in the back that allows us to open up more spaces within our church. We have raised almost half, a little short of half of the funds. The shed was donated by a very generous member of our church, but we are wanting to pay that person back. We really wanted to get the shed up and built so that way we can move forward with things. One of the things that we are looking to do is in that back corner where the Easter photo area is, we are looking to break down that wall, and behind there is a shower. It was the men's shower back there, and it hasn't been used in years. It has been used for storage, but we are looking to completely redo it and build a nursery. So that way we can have a place for young parents to come and be able to still take care of their kids and but also watch the service as well. So that's just one of the amazing things that we're looking to do that getting the shed built is going to allow us to do. I am sure that person is going to want to completely take it down. After all the blood, sweat, and tears, sure. There is a an anniversary of a local food truck. It's called Loco Mofongo. I don't have the tickets. Melissa, do you happen to have one of the tickets with you? I don't either. I wasn't anticipating doing announcements tonight. It is a Caribbean street food truck that is having their 1-year anniversary. They are selling tickets. Each ticket is $1, and for however many tickets get sold, those those funds actually go directly to the food pantry. So one of our churchgoers, Diane, she actually has the ticket. So if you're here on Sundays, get with her. She'll be happy to get you guys the tickets. And again, I think she has like somewhere around 500 tickets, and all of those funds go directly towards the food pantry. So it's something really awesome. Again, trying to help our surrounding community. We also do have an Easter offering for the entire month. It's the Annie Armstrong Easter offering that helps North American Ministries. You can either fill out an offering card or give on the app, and you just select the drop-down box for Annie Armstrong. Just as important as it is for our just as it is important for us to help fund our worldwide missionaries, it is also extremely important for us to fund our North American ministries, because there's help needed worldwide, especially in the States where we live and where where people come to vacation, and it's needed. And then also for the next 2 weeks, we are still looking for some Easter lilies. I did find some Easter lilies. That way we can fill up our stage a little bit with some Easter lilies in memory of anyone that you've lost. I did find some Easter lilies up at the Clearwater Sam's Club, only because I work up there. But I don't know if they have them here at the Pinellas Park Sam's Club. No? They do, okay. Yeah, they're about $15 for a planter of Easter lilies. So they are at this Sam's Club and the Clearwater Sam's Club. If you find any others, there is a post on the Facebook page that you can also comment on if you see them anywhere else. So I think that's it, Pastor.
Don't go anywhere. We do need to pray. We have a prayer request. Roger Charles. And his wife, Fran, is our secretary, but he's in the hospital. He's got some serious issues. So if y'all just pause for a moment, and we want to lift Roger up to the Lord, and then his wife as she stands alongside him. Father, we pray for Roger. And Father, he's got some health issues, Lord, that need to be taken care of as soon as possible. And we pray, Lord, that will be taken care of within at least the next 24 hours. So we pray for Fran. She stands alongside her husband. Let them know that they can feel your presence and that we're lifting them up to the Lord. And all the church said, amen. Thank you.
So we do want to thank everyone for coming tonight. This is an amazing opportunity for adults and children alike to become aware of the human trafficking that is just around the corner, in all honesty. It happens everywhere. And so this truly is a great opportunity for the kids to be here. And if they have any questions, or they're in their safe space with the adult that they came with. But for kids to truly understand the dangers of human trafficking and how easily it can happen, and internet safety, and how we as parents and adults and adult figures in these kids' lives, how we can protect them. So without further ado, we would love to have Sarah come up here and help us truly understand this.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time to come and talk about this necessary topic. Although it's not super fun, it's imperative that we talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, our kids are still talking about it without us as informed adults. And so tonight, some of the stuff that we're going to talk about may be uncomfortable, but I would rather it be uncomfortable in here. And again, like Alicia said, for us to have a safe space to talk about it, rather than our kids be approached with uncomfortable topics and not know what to do with that information. So a little quick background. I'm the president of Stop the Movement. Stop the Movement exists to educate, empower, and equip Tampa Bay to keep our kids safe online and in person. So we do internet safety trainings, we do human trafficking 101 classes, we do self-defense trainings. We offer those for free for kids, teens, and adults. We even do dating safety. runs the gamut because everybody needs to be a little bit safer. And there's a lot of stuff that has happened just in this room that's preventable. And we don't want that to happen to the next generation. And so that's the passion behind what we're doing. Also, if you're looking for something to do very, very early this Saturday, we have our annual race coming up at Al Lopez Park. You can get more information at stopthemovement.org. If you don't like running, that's okay, no one actually does. And you could just come and have fun with the rest of us. There'll be coffee, so that's why I'm going. So let's get into the presentation. I'm just gonna follow along here and hopefully the slides will be, okay, thank you. All right, perfect. So this is what parents need to know. Jesse, we're gonna skip this next slide and we're gonna go to why are we so concerned about internet safety? Yep, the next one. Yep, there we go, perfect. Why are we concerned about internet safety? Because everybody has the internet. There are varying degrees to which our kids and us ourselves are involved in the internet, but it's not going anywhere. So we have a couple options, and I guess I should put a disclaimer on this. You do what's best for your family. What works for me and my kids may not work for you or your children, your grandchildren, or you as a teen. You do whatever works for your family, but you make that decision as a family. That's what I would encourage you to do. So that being said, some people in the room limit their kids' screen time to 1 hour a week. Some of us have to rip the screens out of our children's hands because they're glued to their eyeballs 24 hours a day, and I've watched so many stupid Bluey episodes that I could recite all of them to you by heart. So just whatever works for your family. So here's why it matters. Over 55% of sex trafficking victims are recruited online. And I just read a statistic yesterday that said something to the same effect. 50% of all children under 18 that were encountered some type of sexual trauma, it happened online. That's where it started. That's why this is important, because again, it's not going anywhere, and it comes from all forms. Social media, every single platform, all online messaging apps, chat rooms, dating apps, anything that's online has the ability to be dangerous. That does not mean that the internet's, from Satan and that it's awful. It's got some great uses too. But we need to be aware of what the negative sides of it are. So we'll go to the next slide, Jesse. This is why we must talk about this today. This next picture that you're gonna see are real life families. It'll make more sense once the picture comes up. But this is a picture of families that went before the Senate just a couple of months ago. They're holding up pictures of their children, all probably between the age of 12 and 17, that have passed away by suicide because of cyberbullying, or because of what they call revenge porn, or because they were trafficked online, or because they were extorted online. And these are real life pictures of parents calling out big tech to be responsible for what they're allowing on their platforms, because all of these children that you see in these pictures have passed away. So that's how real it is. So we'll go to the next slide. The first topic we're going to cover is cyberbullying. 1 in 2 teen girls has been bullied or harassed online about their physical appearance. Honestly, it's probably 2 in 2 teen girls, if we're being honest. When I was growing up, the internet was just coming out, and so the difference between when I was growing up and now is that we had a reprieve, and I'm sure many of you can relate, that if you were bullied at school, at least when you came home, you got a break. It was safe at home. Our kids now don't get a break. They're dealing with it at school, and then they come home and they log in online, and then they're dealing with it there as well. It's relentless, and people can hide behind a screen, and the things that they're saying, they think have no consequences. And what you'll note is that cyberbullying is honestly a precursor to kids feeling vulnerable, and then traffickers and the bad people online will exploit that vulnerability. So it's all part of the same cycle. Here's a couple things. You know what bullying looks like: spreading rumors, setting up fake accounts, encouraging other kids to harm themselves. And it sounds like something that you wouldn't be a part of, but this is happening every single day. So here's some of the questions that we need to ask our kids. Parents, these are some of the questions that we're encouraging you to have these conversations with your kids. Does being anonymous make it easier to be mean to someone? We want them to start critically thinking. Of course it does. It's so much easier to say something mean to somebody via text. As adults, have you ever sent a text to somebody that was way meaner than something that you would say over the phone? I have. I mean, I haven't, but I'm sure people have. It's so much easier to be anonymous. And so we want our kids to understand the gravity of what they're doing online. And also, I should mention that whatever they're putting online doesn't go away. Just because they're 13 and they posted a picture or they posted a statement or something about someone else and they turn 18 and they're looking for their first job, that stuff has not disappeared on the internet. It's always out there in perpetuity. And so it's really important that we talk to them about what they're posting. So we want to encourage kids to be upstanders instead of bystanders. All right, on our next slide, it says, does your child feel comfortable talking to you about bullying? And if they don't, that's okay. So what we're going to do is start today. That's the best thing that we can do, is start today, start having the conversations now. They're going to be uncomfortable, sure, but they're necessary, because you saw that picture of all those parents whose kids are gone and they're not coming back. And we want to be able to prevent that. So we need to have the uncomfortable conversations now. So here's what we encourage you to do as parents. Open the conversation. Let's talk about cyberbullying. Let's talk about internet safety with our kids. Don't make it weird. That's just kind of a good rule of parenting, is don't make it weird. Go on a walk and talk about it. Make it, very like a low-key situation, low pressure. And if they tell you that something's happening, you want to be able to see it. You want to be able to report it to the right authorities, depending on the gravity of what they're dealing with. You want to block the people that they're interacting with. And depending on the situation, you want to delete it. If we're dealing with a trafficking situation or an older person is talking to a younger person, we don't want to delete anything. So I should note that. Keep that, because we want the police involved and they want proof of everything. On our next slide, we're going to talk about social media. Raise your hand if you have social media, kids and adults. All right, there's some liars in the room. Okay, got it. All right, so almost everybody has social media, whether you use it once a month or whether you're using it for 8 hours a day. We just had a statistic that was published last week. The average amount of screen usage right now on social media apps, not if you're checking your email, not if you're making business calls, social media apps. Does anybody want to guess how many hours a day? Throw a number out. 9. 9 hours a day on social media. That's what we're dealing with right now. Which, tell me how that timing makes sense if kids are in school for 8 hours a day. The math does not add up. Here's what we're talking about with social media. Again, it can be positive, it can be uplifting, it can also be dark, and it can be dangerous. And it's a tool for bad people to find our kids. A third of teens have reported that they've used social media almost constantly. I did a training to a private Christian school, and I asked the group of teens that I was talking to raise their hand if they had been approached by someone that they didn't know through a direct message, and almost all of them raised their hands. Everywhere. It's everywhere. When you're scrolling, you get a dopamine hit. It's the same effect on your body as a narcotic. It is absolutely scientific and a biological change in your brain when you're using social media and you're scrolling. And have you heard of doom scrolling? Has anybody heard of doom scrolling? Doom scrolling is like when you're reading news and it's one terrible article after another and you get sucked in and you can't pull yourself out, and then you get more and more depressed, and then you get more information to make you more depressed, and it's a cycle that you can't get out of. Kids do that too. They're seeing pictures of people that are, they think are better looking than them, that have more money than them, that are doing bigger and better things than them, and they can't compete with that stuff. That's the same level of doom scrolling that they're going through, and it affects you mentally. Here are the mental health concerns: suicide, anxiety. We see this happening every single day. So on the next slide, we talk about social media safety tips. Don't make your accounts, make your accounts private. We want our accounts private. And the teens in the room, we can fight later if you want, but there's no reason to have a public account. A public account allows anybody in the entire world to find you. If your kid is 13 and they go to the pool with their friends and they're posting pictures of their friends and they're just having fun and there's nothing sexual in nature about it, somebody's going to find that picture if it's a public account. And just because your child didn't have any ill intent doesn't mean that someone else doesn't. That's what we need to watch out for. highly recommend not using your full name on your handle on like Instagram. Come up with a different name. Also be careful about sharing school names and club teams. You know, when kids have their first day of school, and you have that cute little, board that says my kid's name is, they go to school, here's their teacher's name. Might as well put their social security number on there too. It's cute, but it's dangerous. People don't need your kids' information. They just don't. And I know that it's unfortunate, but it's the world that we live in, and so we need to be educated, and then we need to make smarter choices. So I don't recommend doing that. Also, I highly recommend that teens share their account passwords with their parents. In my household, and I have been met with a lot of resistance about this, having social media, having a phone, having a watch, whatever the case may be, a laptop, is a privilege. It's not a right, especially if I'm paying for it. I get access to everything, and that's to keep my kids safe. And that's what we tell them is I'm not concerned about you making bad choices. I'm concerned about the people around you making bad choices, and then you getting sucked into it. So on the next slide, social media safety tips continued. Be careful who you accept as a friend. And this is uncomfortable because my parents are in the room. But when I was 14, I was on AOL Messenger. That was a thing back in the day, Instant Messenger. And I talked to all kinds of people I didn't know. And I was a great kid, right? I was a great kid. And I really didn't do anything out of line, and I didn't know that was wrong, and I didn't know it was dangerous until fast forward X amount of years, I'm a parent, and I will murder someone if they talk to my children and they don't know them. It's the equivalent to, say you have a 9-year-old. What if a 40-year-old man showed up at your door, knocked on the door, and said, hey, can I play with your kid? What would you do? How many of you own guns? Don't raise your hand. That's what you would do. That's what we're letting our kids do. When we have unfettered access to the internet, that's the danger that we're imposing on them. Also, don't share your location. Snapchat is very controversial, but I would imagine that all of you have that. Again, I'm not saying that it's inherently evil. However, just please know 2 things. The pictures that you post don't disappear, even though that's a very enticing feature of this app. They don't disappear. They're there. So whatever you're posting and you think that it's safe, it's not safe. Secondarily, Snapchat shares your location with everybody that you're friends with. That is unnecessary and dangerous, because if people are following you that are not friends and not family and you don't know them, or you only know them from the internet, this could be a concern. And so I highly recommend that you turn location sharing off if you have Snapchat. And these are very specific, tangible things that you can do to keep yourself safe. Block and report suspicious accounts, and remember that everything that you share is permanent. And thank God the internet wasn't around when I was growing up. I'll just say that much. All right, let's move on to video game danger. Again, are video games inherently evil? No, they're fun. It's a great way to connect with your friends. It's a great way to let off some steam. There's nothing wrong with video games. What's wrong is how people are using video games now. And any video game that has a chat feature has the ability to be extremely dangerous. We had a situation a couple years ago of a girl who was well-versed in the work that we do, and her child was sucked into a situation through a video game, through the family computer that they had in the living room. So it's not that she was doing anything wrong. She was on the computer in the living room. Her mom knew what she was doing, playing a video game, made friends with who she thought was another tween girl. It was an adult man. And unfortunately, she had given that adult man her cell phone number, her address, and all of her family's information. And thank God, long story short, the police intervened and saved her, because we don't know what could have happened. I'm gonna have Riley come up and share a little story with us briefly before we move on to more about video games, but she has a personal story that she wants to share with you as well. Okay, I'll share the story. So, we were on a trip about 2 years ago, and there was some older girls on the trip with us, and they were telling Riley about an app that they had that was very fun. Is that right? And so they downloaded it onto her little phone, and I didn't know anything about it, and she was playing it for a couple weeks, and she started getting afraid of the dark. And then finally, one day came to me and said, I need to tell you about this app. It's scaring me. Someone tried to contact me through it, and this is my child, and I do this for a living. And the stuff that's on the app, although it seems fun and it's colorful and it seems kid-friendly, once you get into it, it's really dangerous and it's really dark. And it was affecting her sleep, and so we deleted the app and we talked to the parents about it. But that's how fast it can happen. I didn't even know that had happened. Did you want to add anything to that? Okay, all right, great job, Riley. Thank you. Good job, baby. Thank you. Excellent. So if you can see in this picture under the video game danger slide, there's I know it's real tiny to see. Correct me if I'm wrong, kids in the audience. I don't know if this is Roblox. It is, okay, or honestly, it's all the same. Okay, Roblox. So again, Roblox, very fun. This is not fun. What this is a picture of a strip club, and this avatar is going to buy a stripper. Why would that be in a kid's game? What's the need for that? That's concerning. So, and I'm sure that if you're playing the game, maybe you've seen things like this. It's available for everybody to see. But I want to be very careful about the language that we're using here, but there are very bad things that are happening on apps like that. You can read the slide and see it for yourself. There are hangout spaces and clothing that places you'd not be allowed to go in real life, and clothing you would not be allowed to wear in real life, and conversations you would not be allowed to have in real life that we're having on video games like this. Not to mention bullying and the private messaging. So let's go on to the next slide, and we'll talk about private messaging. The thing about private messaging is that anybody can talk to you. And things are not as they seem, and kids are easily fooled because they're kids. There's nothing wrong with that. We want our kids to be naive. That's the way that God created them. And I'll tell you a funny story. We were watching a YouTube clip a couple weeks ago, and there was an adult with a group of other adults, and he tied a cinder block to a rope and was doing some kind of game where he was swinging it around, trying to see who he could hit. And, the last man standing was basically the winner. We were watching that, and now I was thinking in my head, that's like a pillow. It looked like a cinder block, but obvious, it's not strong enough, first of all. And second of all, if you hit someone in the head with a cinder block, they're going down and they're not getting up, right? Our kids are watching that thinking, that looks fun. I want to do that with my siblings. I want to do that with my friends. And everything that they're seeing online, they're just accepting as reality. And that isn't the case. And if we aren't coming in telling them what the truth is, they're just going to be left to their own devices. All right, we're going to talk about predators now. Predators are the people online that are looking to harm our kids. Sometimes they're looking to harm us, but more generally, they're looking to harm kids. They're calculated, they're patient, and they're extremely manipulative. And they will find out your kid's vulnerability, even if you think that they don't have one. Everybody has one. They will patiently search it out, and then they will exploit it, and then it will be too late. They will capitalize on the vulnerability. What does the vulnerability look like? That'll be in our next slide, but it could be they're struggling in school. Could be they're struggling at home. Could be a self-esteem issue. Could be they're getting bullied. They'll find out what that is. They will capitalize on it by grooming them, and grooming them is the process of earning their trust and then using it against them. Then they'll have control over their victims, and they will use that control to get what they want. And people are preying on our kids from the safety of our houses. When we talk about internet safety, we're not talking about a kid who's been physically trafficked to another state or another country. We're talking about your kids being trafficked from inside their bedroom in the house that you live in together. That's what we're talking about. So here are some vulnerabilities that predators use to exploit kids. We see this on a daily basis. And in fact, some predators have come out that have been caught, and they've shared their stories of what they've looked for in children. Like I said, family struggles, unstable homes, mental health issues. We talked about this in the last training we did. I love talking about mental health. It's so important. This is such a great age for us to discuss this, to talk about our struggles, because everyone has them. What I don't want you to do as a kid or a teen is to post up, I'm really struggling with depression and anxiety. Because all 1,200 of your Instagram followers or your Facebook friends don't need to know that. Who needs to know that is your trusted family and friends, your youth pastor, your pastor, your your parents. Those are the people that can help you. But don't blast information like that out into the world, because someone will use it negatively. So here are the 5 stages of sextortion, the sexual extortion. This is what we're seeing take place inside bedrooms on a daily basis. We've seen this with a lot of boys as well. It's extremely underreported because it is so shameful and it's so embarrassing. But what we've predominantly seen is that for boys, they're being exploited for money, and for girls, they're being exploited for pictures and videos. So what this looks like is the predator will initiate a relationship with you as a teen or a kid. They may pretend to be another teen. They'll build a relationship with you, and they'll build you up and shower you with compliments and tell you how great you are and that they're there for you. They'll develop trust. Then they will desensitize you to inappropriate content, and then they'll maintain control. Excuse me. So we had a situation probably about a year ago. It was extremely heartbreaking. There's the good stories too. I don't want to just leave you with the bad news, but you have to be aware of what's actually happening. And I really encourage you, especially if you have boys, talk to your boys as well. There was a boy that was exploited online. He was talking to what he thought was another 16-year-old girl. She asked him for some inappropriate photos. He obliged. And then the predator said, hey, actually, I'm an adult man. If you don't, wire me $500 or Venmo me $500, I'm going to send these pictures to your mom and dad, to your youth group. I'll airdrop it to your school, and you're going to be so embarrassed. And within 15 minutes, he committed suicide. I mean, that's one of the harder stories. That's not an anomaly, though. It's just we don't talk about it. He was so embarrassed, and rather than go talk to his parents about it, he said this was my only option. That's what we can prevent. The thing is, stuff like this is going to happen. And while we don't want it to happen, if it does happen, we need to provide a way out for our kids. I want my kids to know that you've never made a mistake too big that we can't talk about it, and that things aren't fixable. Everything's fixable. We just have to have the conversation. So let's talk about some red flags. This is what you should be looking for. If you have not had a conversation with your kids up to this point about social media or things like that, don't think that they want to have this conversation with you. Don't think that they're going to be like, here you go, mom and dad. Here's all of my social media. Please read through all of my direct messages and look at all my conversations that I'm having on social media and on video games. They are not going to be happy. However, it is necessary, and again, do that to whatever degree works for your family, but here's some red flags to look out for in conversation. If someone's asking your kid to DM them or asking for their phone number or saying things like, I love you, and they've never met in person and your kid is 12, that's probably a red flag. Send me a pic, are you alone? Offering ways for your kids to know how to make money fast. These are all red flags. And obviously that list is not extensive, but things to look out for. So who are predators? Predators can be anyone. Again, when I was growing up, everybody knows the term pimp. Being a pimp was very glamorized. It was glamorized in music videos. It was like a very large guy with a bunch of gold chains, and he had a bunch of rings, and he was very wealthy. And in actuality, that's not what they look like, and if that's what we're looking for, you're never gonna be able to spot one, and you're never gonna be able to spot a victim. Predators can be anyone. Predominantly they are men, but women are predators as well. They can be any age and any ethnicity. Overwhelmingly, they are in a position of power or authority. I wish we had hours to stay here tonight, because I know that there are stories in this room, and people could stand up and tell their story or tell the story of what happened to someone they know, and overarchingly, it's from a person in a position of power or authority. It is also overwhelmingly familial. Familial being either a family member or someone closely related to the family that the kid trusts. So we're not talking about snatch and grab and the scary man in the white van pulling up and asking your kid if they want candy and puppies. We're talking about the uncle, the grandparent, the the person that works at your church, the baseball coach, anyone, but people that have access to your kids that are in positions of authority should not just implicitly be trusted. You need to ensure that they're safe people. Also, friends of the family and neighbors. So, next slide is talking to your kids early and often. We just read this book. I can't recommend this book highly enough. It's called A Secret Gift for Grace. I'm not sure that you can see it too well there, but it's a book about grooming for kids. It's not scary, it just opens the door for conversation, and it led to a great conversation with my kids personally. This is a story about a little girl and the nice neighborhood man that lived across the street, and how he offered her a puppy, but she had to sit on his lap in order to pet the puppy, and it made her uncomfortable. She ended up telling her parents, and they found out that this nice old man had done this to many kids in the neighborhood, and she stopped it because she was brave enough to stand up and say something. So it's a great story. Highly recommend that. Also, if you want to continue your education, Sextortion is a great movie. Not only for adults, but I would say it's appropriate for teens as well. Again, just because they're not talking to us about it, they're talking to each other about it. So it's something that we should be talking to our kids about. Lastly, we're going to talk about porn, which is uncomfortable because there are kids in here. But again, they're talking about it. The average age of exposure to pornography is 8. Not 18, it's 8. Statistically, that means 2 of my kids have accidentally already been exposed to it. That's why this is important for us to talk about. Also, overwhelmingly, people that are in church are addicted to it. So it's not like this is an outside issue. This is a church issue as well. People think this is not going to happen to my child. Your kid probably isn't searching out for it, but once they've seen it accidentally, they may go searching for it after that. And if they don't know who to talk to, then they won't know what to do. We have a great friend that we partner with, and he talks about the brain science behind this. And the science states that after you've viewed pornography 2 times, your brain is rewired to then crave that supernormal stimulus over and over and over again. So there is a degree to which you cannot even control it at that point. This is why we want to keep our kids safe. Over half of middle schoolers have already seen it, and many kids are using this for their sex education. That's where they're getting it from. Do you know what's on these videos? An overwhelming amount of abuse and very, very derogatory to women. Racism, there is nothing good that comes from this. And the thing that we tell people is that there's no way to determine whether it's consensual, so you just shouldn't watch it at all. We stand very firmly on that. Especially, we don't want our kids to see it. It will affect their relationships, it will affect the way that their brain works, and it will affect them for the rest of their lives. So, if our kids have seen it or if they are watching it, we don't want to shame them because then they'll just watch it without talking to us about it. We want to remove the shame, but we want to have the conversation. And we have great resources. If this is something that you'd like more info on, I would love to equip you and help you with that because it is an overwhelming topic. The next slide is just talking about the difference between screen versus real life. God made us to be in connection with each other, real life style. To do it online is great. That definitely serves a purpose. You have friends and family all across the country that you don't see anymore. But if you're substituting that for a real life human interaction, you're missing the way that God designed it. And that's what we need to help teach our kids. How many times have you, maybe even the kids in the youth group, you're in a room together, but you're all on your phone? And everyone's sitting there texting each other or texting other people. You're missing it. And we need that connection. We crave that connection. You cannot get that on a screen. We won't go into artificial intelligence, but just know that, again, this is one of those things that could be negative, it could be positive, and people have already discovered ways to use it in a negative way. So virtual girlfriends are a new thing that are trending. Goodness gracious. So here's the next page. You just got your kid a phone. We can go through this as well if you'd like more information. Our executive director, Kristen, broke it down over the next 3 slides, which you won't really be able to see. But what to do on your phone and what to do on your kid's phone. There's a way to do, to set passwords, to set time limits. And again, your kid's not gonna like it, and that's okay. It's for their safety. So there are 3 layers of protection. Relationship and trust building, that's obviously the first one. And then we talk about location, we talk about rules, and we talk about boundaries with our kids. Again, this is not a one-time conversation, so that's fun as parents. It never gets easier being a parent, does it? I really thought it was gonna get easier at some point, and I haven't met that point yet. Location, rules, boundaries. And then also, we want to do our best. There's a lot of monitoring software that we recommend. Is it going to cover everything? No. But doing something is always better than doing nothing. So, again, having the conversations early and often, be curious, don't condemn. I also want to mention, you want to have a space of safety, because if it's not your kid that something's happening to, what if it's one of their friends? And they can't go to their friends' parents, and you're the one that they come to. You need to be equipped with what to do and how to handle it, and they need to know that you're a safe space. So again, it may not be our kids, maybe the community. Great questions for them to ask. Has anyone ever tried to talk to you online? What would you do if they did? How would you handle it? Who would you talk to? Just open the conversation. And reassure your child that they can come to you about anything and that you will believe them. Believing them is key. So again, about location, rules, and boundaries, this is a constant fight in my house, to be completely honest with you. At night, technology goes away, and it's not a new rule, but it seems like every single night it is. They've never heard this rule in their entire lives, and every single night they're like, what? This is an offense of the highest order. And we have to put the technology away. Kids don't know how to put boundaries on themselves, so we have to do it. So be aware of fake apps. We don't have time to go into all the apps, but check the apps that are on your kid's phone. That's what I would recommend. Have the conversation, be curious, what are they interested in, what kind of apps do they have, why do they have them, and get the conversation flowing. Here's some apps that we recommend. Bark, it's gonna come at a cost, and I recommend it, because if you think about it, how many subscriptions are you paying for right now that you don't use? You know, those diet apps and those exercise apps and your Netflix, and all those things that you're not using. What if you put that money towards something that could actually protect your family? Bark is a great app, and you can put it on all of your devices in your house and your phones and all that stuff. It's so good. I really encourage you to do that sooner than later. Last but not least, encouragement for parents. This is a long game. Parenting is hard. Being a kid is hard too. Being a kid in this day and age is so hard. If you couldn't pay me enough money to go back in time. So we see you, kids, here for you. And just remember that love is active, it's not passive. It is so much easier to just let them do what they want, because fighting is exhausting, but it's necessary and they're worth it. And so that's why it has to be active. So support each other, have the conversations, be the parent, be the youth leader that's talking about the hard things, and open the door up for other people to talk about hard things. Take breaks too. And that's all I have for you. Here's our info up on the screen. I would recommend, if you can see it, to screenshot this. We recommend highly that you input the human trafficking hotline into your phone and make an anonymous call anytime you see anything that you think could be human trafficking. You can also, there's a text line, there's a cyber tip line, or you can email us if you have any further questions. I really appreciate your time and your consideration for this issue, and I think we'll open it up to Q&A, but that's up to Pastor Fred, so he's the boss, or to Alicia. She's also the boss. Yeah, come on up.
So when our kids got their phones, we made it abundantly clear with them that their phones get charged in our laundry room area. We have a plug that's designated for their phones. Phones do not get charged in their rooms. There is a cutoff time at night for them to be on their phones. On Apple, I don't know how it is on Androids, but on Apple, there is a way that you can set it up to where kids have to request the app before it's downloaded. So we have the opportunity to look at the app research the app before it even goes on their phone. So, and then on top of that, just like the Bark, I've seen Bark, I don't use it, but I've heard so many amazing things about it. There's also, if you search secret apps on Google, there's gonna be so many links that you can look at those secret apps. There's one app that it looks just like a calculator, but it's a chat app. It's like calculator with like 2 R's or something like that. But it is a secret app. So if you're just, because my kids also know that at any given time, we can go through their phones. Whether they're holding their phone and we say, hand me your phone. Or if we do it at night, just when they're sleeping. It's not a secret. So we're not going behind their backs. It's that open communication, making sure that what they're talking about, now could they go in and delete things? Of course they can. But I know I don't always remember to delete something, or when I was a kid, I didn't always remember to hide my secret phone and stuff like that, and I got caught. So, but it's little things like that. Again, it's just the open communication. I will say, middle school is tough, very tough. I've noticed that high school gets a little bit easier. So hopefully that's something to look forward to. But I've noticed that in high school, my daughter feels a little bit more comfortable talking to me about certain things. Middle school I know middle school was super tough for me, and unfortunately I didn't feel comfortable talking to my parents. And just like you said, you're gonna talk to somebody. And it was my friends, and it was friends that weren't experienced in life like the adults are. So those are just a few things that my husband and I do.
So good, thank you. Yes. Yes, thank you. Any questions before we close the night out? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's great, practical idea. Thank you. Anybody else? No? All right, I'll pass it over to you, Pastor Fred. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sarah. If you need anything else you'd like to talk, she'll be available. I'm sure she will. And we're glad all of you came out. I think the information we needed this. We really did. Sure, a lot of things that you wasn't aware of, but it's going on, and it's just amazing out there. With the predators out there that are after our young people. Glad you came out tonight. God bless you. We love you, and we hope to see all of you Friday night at 7 o'clock. God bless you. You're dismissed. Have a great evening.